Hello and welcome back to the Triggered Newscast. Today's April 26th, 2019. And today I wanted to talk to you a little bit about an issue we have going on in California that is much bigger than the Flint, Michigan water crisis. This issue has been largely underreported in the media. In fact, I can't remember the last time I've heard it come up in the national and mainstream, much less even the local area or California papers. So the issue that's going on has been going on for years, and it happens to be the most polluted water in the entire world. Now, this water is so corrosive that if you stick a shovel inside of it, it'll completely eat the metal of the shovel overnight. I'm going to show you guys some pictures of that as we go through this. But here's why it's really important to you, even those who live outside of California, is this water doesn't just affect the drinking water supply for the locals in the area. This water source is exactly what waters all of the agricultural in the Central California region. And what a lot of people don't know is that these heavy metals from these mines are bioaccumulative. And what that means is as they add up into the soil, they don't dissipate over time. They become more and more and more. And the plants, the vegetable life, the produce that's grown in California is able to leach in these heavy metals, and there's severe health risks. So I'm going to go ahead and start showing you guys this. It's really sad that it's underreported. I'm only going to read a couple things just to give you guys context, and I'm going to show you guys some of the pictures. Obviously, again, Flint, Michigan is heavily reported on, but what is not reported on is other issues like this toxic Superfund site that have huge implications for you. So what we're staring at here is a map of the Shasta County area, and as you can see, there are several lakes. We have the Shasta Lake, which is to the northeast of town. We have Whiskey Town Lake, which is to the southwest, and we have the Sacramento River, which connects through Shasta Lake, through this Keswick Reservoir, through the Keswick Dam and Keswick Lake, and falls off back into the Sacramento River. Now, it doesn't show it on this map, but where the city of Redding comes into concern is actually down here. This point right here is where the water treatment plants are at in the city of Redding. And so every time you get a heavy rainstorm, the water comes down here on Iron Mountain, leaches off a lot of these highly toxic metals. Every one of these streams you see here to the south, east, uh, and even to the west are all completely contaminated, and lots of different agencies, environmental protection agencies, are trying to reseed and repopulate these streams with fish, and they keep coming up unsuccessful. But where the real danger lies is these two yellow points. So this Spring Creek debris dam is what actually stops all of the runoff from the main mine area that comes down Slick Creek. It goes down Lower Spring Creek. There's a few drop offs, and right here it is slowly dammed up in the Spring Creek debris dam. And from here, during times of heavy rain, or if they just really need to drain a little bit, all they actually do is drain this highly toxic water straight into Keswick Dam. And as you can see, their goal here is to have the river naturally wash it off. And what's happened, maybe I can pull it up for you while I'm talking for a second. They've had lots of massive uh, trout, bass, salmon die offs in this area. Let's see if I can pull up any single article for you. So we have just this year, March 30th, a couple weeks ago, the death of 390,000 hatchery salmon. Uh, we we have it happen again and again over the years. Every time there's a heavy rain, all of the salmon in the whole Sacramento River region will wash up and die. And it's really sad. I'm gonna scroll down here, show you another few maps. This is a more topographical view of the area. Again, you're still getting everything in context of the location of the city. So again, up here is the mined area. The rock region is a secondary part, but what it has the true implications, what I'm going to show you, what's truly scary, is not necessarily how this affects the city of Reading and their water, which it's horrendous. It's copper, it's zinc, it's there's arsenic, which is actually being underreported. The report I'm showing you now, I will leave in the description afterwards. This is just one of the 5-year reports that they do every single year for this toxic fund super site. So this toxic fund super site is one of the earliest ones set up by the EPA. A lot of people don't realize that just west of the town of Shasta and on the way towards the coast off of Highway 99, what we run into, I'm sorry, 299, what we run into is an area called Weaverville where they were doing a lot of the hydraulic mining in the early 1800s and prior. And during that time, the contamination was so bad, the river runoff, the fish dying was so bad that the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, was actually started because of this area. This is not only the most toxic Superfund site in the United States, it's the most polluted water in the world. Now, to give you a little bit more context, just 100 miles north in the city of Dunsmuir, California, is the cleanest water in the world. So within 100 miles of each other on the same, it's nearly in the same county, the same area has the world's cleanest and dirtiest water. And like I said, besides this being a drinking water issue where it really affects not just Californians, but you across the United States or you outside of the United States. And the reason is all of this water that keeps carrying south to Central California is the water that is used for the agricultural area. 94% of the food supply comes from California. Many specific food items are only grown in California. Uh, Instead of wasting time on the stream, check that out. Check out the food breakdown. What types of foods only come from California, and you're going to be surprised. And where they come from is nearly exclusively just south of here, using this direct water source. So I'm going to come out and get into some of this. Now, this is also really concerning, and it's the remediation strategy, which basically is just as efficient as the nuclear power plants across the world. All they are doing is barreling up all of the most toxic stuff that they can sift out of the water. They're putting it in barrels, driving it back up to the top of the exact same mountain and sticking them up there because they have no clue how to stop it. And what's really scary is all of these things are very water soluble, and the copper, the zinc, the sulfide, the arsenic, all of these things are in very loose, salty type of. They're very hydrophilic, and anytime water touches them, it basically liquefies the side of this mountain. Let's see if I can pull up an image that will kind of give you guys some perspective on exactly how it looks. It's really sad when you're looking at it. Uh, Not only has the iron, the zinc, and the arsenic completely turned water red, what you'll also see, which is even more scary, is perfectly clear water, which just means that not enough of the iron, not enough of the copper got leached into the water to turn it red, but enough of the arsenic and the other clear materials did. So there's many streams in this area that have absolutely no fish life. When you're driving by the area, you'll see parts of the mountain, and this is another good angle of it. It kind of gives you more of the topographical. It shows you the poisonous sediments, and most of the time these sediments just sink right down here to the bottom of Keswick Lake. That's actually, this is from the 2005 report. It was a 5-year report. You can go back and read this one. This is a diagram from the EPA from one of their own reports on the Iron Mountain. As you can see, just giving a preliminary search around Google, you're gonna see a lot of really sad things about Iron Mountain. And some of the scariest things, like I was mentioning at the beginning, the water is so corrosive that a shovel will melt overnight in the water. That's one night. This is in the one of the original Iron Mountain Superfund site, and this was a worker doing remediation, left the shovel there in just a few inches of liquid overnight, came back, and the next day, the shovel looked like it had sat in that water for 50 years, completely gone. That's not just under the dirt, that shovel is literally completely acid eroded off. So coming back over to this is the sixth fifth-year report. And what's really sad is they won a lawsuit in 2000 against a person who had bought one of the local mines in the area, and their goal was not only to clean it up themselves and to start mining again, but instead, the EPA decided to create this as a toxic Superfund site, sued the mine owner. The fresh mine owner had nothing to do with the early mining days, with the bad conditions the mine were in. There's hundreds of mines in the area. This guy just bought one of them. And because of that, the EPA sued him, decided that he was responsible for all the remediation. So after purchasing the mine for several $100 million, the EPA sued him, a private individual, for $950 million. Now, that payment came out in two chunks. The first chunk was for $450 million. They've already wasted it all. And as you can see, all they actually do is as it comes down, as they catch it into the spring creek, as they re-container it up, they just drive it back up to the top of the hill and stick it in the mountain. So they've literally spent hundreds of millions of dollars, and the solution is actually very simple. And I'm going to give it to you in 5 seconds. I think we're going to go ahead and cut this live cast short after I explain how this can easily be averted and how we can stop allowing it to affect not just this water supply, but the national food supply in California. So, obviously, with $450 million that they're about to receive this next year in 2020, the other half of the sum from that lawsuit, instead of spending money on barrels and paying staff, to keep driving it up to the top of the hill, what we need to do is this water right here is leaching off from the Spring Creek debris dam. When there's heavy rain, it's allowed to fall into Keswick. Keswick Dam is literally so poisonous. There's signs all around the lake. I'm going to add a thumbnail after the video. There's signs around the lake that warn you don't touch the dirt, don't play in the dirt, don't swim in the lake, don't get inside the sediment of the lake, do not drink the water. And people do ride boats on this lake. People do enjoy the lake, but most of these signs are hidden in places as they have to be by law posted, but they're hidden in places not around the parking lots. You have to walk up to several sections of the lake that have no access that's easy to see signs, and they are literally all around the lake, but not in any of the primary access points. And the simplest thing, and they're not showing it directly here, but the Keswick Reservoir is a long channel that cuts between two rock mountains. And Shasta Lake and the Shasta Dam, uh, from here till you get nearly to Keswick, to the Keswick Lake arm, you haven't hit any toxic water, any toxic sediment. And what we could easily do, especially since there was a car fire in the region this last year, most of the houses up here, there was only actually three on this side, but most of the neighborhoods over here on this side were completely burnt up. And I know that the city's had a little bit of issues with taking land or doing any of this toxic remediation around here on private land, but a lot of this land is actually undeveloped, specifically because they knew how poisonous this whole area was. Anyone drinking out of water wells, not a good idea. This is a bottled water only area. The water here is completely poisonous. And you can easily look up water samples from the Shasta County area, see the extremely high levels of arsenic, cadmium, zinc, copper. And the quick, simple remediation would to be, and to give you scale, this whole thing again this is approximately 1 mile. So we could do maybe a 3 or 4 mile long canal which is all that this basically is a natural canal between two rock slabs. If we were able to bridge around the Keswick Dam to refeed it right here at the same access point, and accept the fact that none of these streams are ever actually going to be able to contain fish or wildlife again, quit wasting time on trying to remediate those, to quit wasting time on this channel. Again, to right here is not poison, but once you get down to this arm, all of this is. That other photo I was showing you uh, over here does show some of the differences in elevation. So what you can see is that most of that poison is coming down here, except for on Minnesota Flats, from Shasta Lake down towards Keswick Reservoir until you hit Flat Creek. In the rain, you don't see any actual poison in the water. And so again, you get right here to Flat Creek, and this is where all of the poison really starts hitting the water, right here at Keswick. And so as you can see with this marker, it might only be a mile and a half of canal that would be needed. Now, the Keswick Dam could be raised feet, inches, but without purposely pouring it out or feeding it, it would basically turn up into a dry basin. It would allow every time that the Spring Fork and the Spring Creek Dam overflows and does fill up into Keswick Dam, that toxic water isn't coming down into the Sacramento River. So it's really an easy fix. It's mostly controlled right now by elevation. We could purposely aim all of this toxic water into the Keswick Reservoir, bypass the Keswick Dam and the Keswick Lake before we get to Flat Creek. And again, as you can see, we have elevation with us. Take right around the edges. I would say it would have to be several hundred feet from the lake to get away from that contaminated soil to not allow leach over. Uh, but concrete, like any other aqueduct in California, we built hundreds of miles of them from Northern California to Southern California for the agricultural purposes. Um, again, I'm going to go ahead and cut this here. I plan on making a quick, more easily digestible content piece on this, more organized and laying out a little bit more of the facts. I'm going to go ahead and stick the Iron Mountain fifth year report into the description. It would be highly informative for any of you to read. Not only does it go down some of the causes, why it slowly over time developed into such an issue, and what efforts they've been taking to fix it. So I strongly suggest that not only the residents of Shasta, California, not only the residents of California, but the residents of the United States start taking this seriously. It does affect your food supply. The meat that you eat that is raised in California is highly bioaccumulated of arsenic, cadmium, copper, zinc. All of these heavy metals lead to very bad outcomes. They're the leading cause in our food supply that is associated with heart disease and with cancer. So please, again, look this up. I'm going to try and make a really concise content piece, but I hadn't done a live cast in a week, and I just wanted to get on out there and give you guys something that I think was important. So thanks for stopping into the Triggered Newscast. I really appreciate you guys. There wouldn't be much reason for me to be here to pass out information if you guys weren't here to receive it. So thank you. God bless, and we'll see you at the next Triggered Newscast.